I'd like to welcome to the process of hip hop, my man coming back for another show, Rap Seminar. Rob, what's going on?
Peace, man. Thank you so much for having me again. Double time.
Yes, sir. Might be another time too, man. Love chopping it up with
For
you.
sure.
Man, you and I again had been talking about doing another show, threw around a couple ideas, man. So we have a two-part show somewhat today. Number one, we're talking about the golden era of rap, which was really, in my opinion, it's like the late 80s all the way through the 90s, and maybe like the first year or so of the new millennium. It was kind of like that 12, 13 year period. But and one of the icons of that golden era, man, just passed away today. RIP to Earl Simmons, DMX.
Man,
And
man.
so
Yeah.
definitely want to spend some time talking about him as well. But man, Rob, I wanted to start with, man, I mean, that golden era. First show we talked, and we talked a little bit about, Nas and Illmatic, and obviously he's
hmm
another rap icon. But
Yeah, most
when you
definitely.
when you look at the the volume of music and just the quality that came out during the golden era, man. I mean, I feel like we were just, for those that were living during that time and were hip hop heads, we were definitely spoiled because it was
Yeah,
just like one album after another, after another, after another, after another, and it almost became just like anything else. If you didn't have an album that was quality, it was quickly discarded because there were so many quality artists and albums that came out during that time. So
yes, yes.
kind of focusing on DMX, man. It's very
Man, I that that era is special because for me, because I was a youngster, and probably middle school on up to high school. Um, and my first introduction to, if we're talking just specifically DMX, I was in my mom's apartment. I was probably in, must have been ninth grade. Man, I don't even know what year it was, but it's dark and hell is hot, you
yes.
know? And I remember getting the single somehow. I had a single, and then I went out and I had to get I had it on tape. I had to get the full tape, the whole joint. And I just remember being locked up in the room, in the bedroom, just listening to this tape over and over again, trying to process what I was hearing,
Mhm.
I had lived in New York. I was in Arizona at the time, but I lived in New York for years, and as a child. And here I am in Arizona in this apartment in the desert, listening to the dog,
Yeah.
just do his thing, and it was just, I don't know how many times I heard it in a row, like that first sitting, but it blew my mind away. I didn't know how to interpret it. Like there was no points of reference for me. It was like I had never heard something like this, and
Yes.
I knew that this, whatever it was it.
Mhm.
It just hit me. It hit me. It hit me.
And,
Yeah, yeah.
his, when we look at, talked a little bit about this last episode, but what makes a rapper and what makes a rap, to me, a rapper becomes iconic when they have content
hmm
and the delivery, okay, and then
Yeah.
they have also that bravado and that passion mixed in with that.
Right. The
There's a,
heart. The heart.
it's like when you have all three of those things,
Yes.
typically you're on your way to being a rap icon, because it sounds easy, but there's guys that have content but don't have delivery, or guys
Right.
that have delivery but don't have content, and then there's guys that have both of those but their bravado or their passion is not there. So what,
Right.
when I first heard his album, it was definitely, I mean, it was like, man, yeah, I've never heard anything like this in terms of, DMX's style, man. He's like literally, he is like super, super aggressive on the mic. That's the first thing that comes out at you. I mean, it's almost like
Yeah.
he is spitting fire, and it is just, it was an appropriately named album. It's Dark and Hell is Hot, because that's the way that, man, when he came out, it was just there was such a passion. And it was, to be honest, man, that first album that came out in '98, it actually was reminiscent. His bravado and passion was reminiscent to me of Pac. He didn't
Yes.
sound like Pac,
Right.
but they both
No.
had that. You just felt what they were saying.
Yeah, there you go. And it's, I think I heard it on a Tupac documentary where they were saying that Pac rhymed from the stomach, that he rhymed from down here, from the solar plexus. You know what I'm saying? And that's where X was rhyming from, and I think that's part of that passion of that comes across, that heart that comes across, and it's interesting that you mentioned that combination, of what it would take to be like an iconic type of MC. But that, like that passion goes a long way, man. And in many areas of life, like if you're into sales, you got to believe what you're saying is the truth.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I think the same thing with MCs. If we're talking about X, he felt what he was saying, and there was no way you couldn't feel that, and you didn't have to go through what he had to go through to understand it, to understand that energy and to feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like he poured it all out, and he wasn't ashamed of what he was presenting, and when we're talking about lyrics, it's rare that you see someone that encompasses everything, the street, the spirituality, the ability to be insecure, to be vulnerable, not insecure, but vulnerable on the mic.
Yeah.
And with what you're saying, right? Like you're confessing things. He's confessing things that other people wouldn't confess, and he owned it. And I think that that's something that really makes him so unique in this era too, of everybody wants to be so cool. And in the social media era, like everything we post is the cool stuff, is us winning, and not everybody, and I don't want to overgeneralize, but Exit was not afraid to show us those losses, you know what I'm saying, that I think are so important for people to see. You were speaking, what were you saying?
Well, I completely agree. And it's rap content. There's been, he obviously he wasn't the first. Obviously, he followed the formula, but as you said, in speaking from the stomach, you truly felt like what he was saying was real, and or he felt, and Chuck D, and I'm pretty sure it's Chuck D. He was saying how black death. If you rap about Black Death, that's very enticing to people.
Yeah.
And I would add to that also just inner city life, which many times just means just periods and points of depression for people of color. But if we're talking about Black people in particular, it's like so DMX, his content was definitely on the it was definitely on the, this is the depressing side of the Black experience, and it was also kind of and all that entails. So that's violence, that's theft, that's drug use, and like you said, when you're rapping about that, you're also making yourself vulnerable, because people almost start to associate you with what you're rapping about, and his style made you feel like he was really in it, believed it, lived it, everything.
But we can't separate, like, as grimy as his stories were and are, we can't separate the spirituality and the like the prayers. You can't take the prayers out the album, you know, and the consciousness that he had. You know, some people do grimy things because they think it's cool. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know his life or his personal life or what he did or didn't do, but I do know from my contact with people growing up that there are people who glorify the darkness, you know, and that the horror stories, you know. But then there are others who use them as cautionary tales, you know, who use them to teach. And I think that that's where X was. I don't think he was telling people to live a certain life. I don't think he was encouraging any kind of violence or you know, I don't think that's what it was. I think that he was teaching us and showing us what the truth is, you know, about a lifestyle, and showing us that that's not what we want. You know, when you hear the torment in his prayers and how he's literally like reaching out, you know, to God, you know, to that higher being, you know what I'm saying? Like,
very
you can see
too.
that he's not happy with you know what I'm saying?
Yes, which was what is, and I think that attracted, along with, again, the formula that we said, content delivery, that's what attracted. I saw him in concert in '98, and man, I kid you not, he got on the stage and he went on. It was part poetry, part prayer for about 10 minutes. No music, music, just on stage. And you know, you would almost call this, like in the dramatic world, like almost like a soliloquy. He just got on stage and just went on and on. And like I said, it was part poetic, but it was also a prayer where, I mean, and in the audience, you know, I had been to my share of hip hop concerts. I'd never seen nothing like that.
Nah. and nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like, who's gonna do that? He was the only one, you know. I come from a line of preachers. I have a lot of preachers in my family. All of my aunts, my dad was a preacher. My grandfather is still a preacher today. You know, my grandmother, like a whole line of preachers in my family. And you know, there is a saying that when more than, I believe it was, don't get me wrong, more than two people gather, God is present.
God is present.
Right? When more than two people gather and they're praying, God is present with them, right?
Yes, sir.
And you know what's crazy is, I remember being a youngster in a circle with my family, and they're praying, you know, and grandpa is praying or grandma is praying, and you feel like, I don't care what you believe. You might not believe in God. You might, I don't know what I believe sometimes, you know, but there. You feel that there is an energy there.
Absolutely.
And it'll make your little goosebumps happen.
Yes,
you know, and I don't know if it's just because you're all there sharing space and you all feel the emotion of it and you're in the moment, or if it's God that is really, and when you hear X on those prayers, man, you could be by yourself listening and you'll feel that feeling. You know what I mean? And because I felt it with the fam in church, at home, and then I felt it listening to DMX, you know, by myself in my room. And it's a powerful thing to be able to transmit that to people who are not in the same place as you, you know, physically, right? It's amazing that he was able to do that.
When you know, and again, your thing, man, is the rhyme scheme. And
there we go. Yeah.
I want you, I mean, you know, it's hard to pick a DMX song that is like, oh, this one, you know, but in terms of rhyme scheme, Rob, how would you break down one of his tracks?
Yeah. Well, it's crazy, man, because let me tell you, we were talking about prayer, and those prayers, I'm someone who I used to host an open mic in my city, and it's still going on. I hosted for about 8 years straight, might have gone to 10 years. It was one Saturday a month, we would have 20 to 30 people perform, okay? I've seen a lot of people do poems, soliloquies, monologues, like whatever you want to call them, right? A lot, like thousands of people, probably, if I did the math. And I have never seen, and I've seen preachers pray, a grip of preachers, but I have never seen someone kick a poem that was a prayer, and it was poetic form. Those prayers that he does on stage,
yeah, they have a
are written in poetic form.
Right.
It's not just I'm freestyling a poem.
No.
Those are poems that he wrote or he had memorized in his heart, and you could tell because of the rhyme, because of the scheme, because of the flow, because of how he'll come back to the rhyme to emphasize the point. And there's a thing where I don't know if MCs think of it this way, but poets do, and that is where the rhyme should complement the content. So if I'm trying to deliver a certain idea that I think is particularly important, I'll pair it with a rhyme that complements the sentiment of it. You know what I'm saying? So poets think about that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that X was definitely doing that because of the subject matter and where he would pair the rhyme. Niggas want to try.
Yes.
Niggas want to lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right? Then niggas wonder why niggas want to die. Like, this is not, his inflections are on the rhyme on purpose. All of it was, and you can feel it. All I know is pain. All I feel is rain. This technique, all I know is pain. 5 syllables, right? All I feel is rain. 5 syllables, that's 1 bar. 2 clauses, 5 syllables each. That's not an accident.
Yeah.
And we could argue he does it naturally because advanced writers hear syllables. They don't have to write them out and count them. They hear it and it pairs up. I didn't have to count those. I'm not saying I'm advanced, but I didn't have to count those syllables to know that those were symmetrical. Those phrases were symmetrical, right? And so niggas want to try. Niggas want to die, right? Same bar, again, equal, symmetrically equal syllabic rhymes, right? Which is high level. That's like a haiku. When we write a haiku, it has to be 5 syllables, right. 3 lines, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. And you're here counting them like, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 7. That's not going to work. And now my man X, he has, it looks like over 30 bars, 2 16s, 32 bars plus the hook, all in meter, down to the syllable. Stop acting like a baby. Wait, stop acting like a baby. Mind your business, lady.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's he was doing math. It could have been mental, but it was here. It was definitely here. It's crazy. It's crazy. But high levels to it. Now I'm getting into now I'm getting amped up.
Yeah,
because we're discovering, like, I told you before we started recording, I got the laptop here, but I didn't pre-look anything up. Like, I just found that and I'm seeing it right now, and I'm discovering it with you, But if we look at that, this is one of my favorite DMX songs, and the Rough Riders Anthem, right? And one of the reasons I love it is because it is really an anthem of the people, you know. It's like I imagine all my friends together and we're all singing it like
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
right? Like it is an anthem, something that we can all sing together, you know. And
And it had a
if we,
triumph to it. It was
there you go.
it had kind of a realness, but then there was also a rallying, like a battle cry
Right,
feel to it as
right,
well. And not like, another joint, man, like Hip Hop Hooray. Okay, Hip Hop Hooray is like, it's a very happy, like, oh, this is the bomb. But Rough Riders Anthem had a rallying cry to it. Like,
right,
it's almost like you felt like, man, you could run through a wall after
right,
you heard that song.
right. As survivors,
Yes, right.
right? This
Like,
is like a survivors, like we ain't like what like his other song, we ain't going
yeah,
anywhere.
right,
That
right.
is kind of in that vein, you know. And now say what whoever wants to say about content, about it's the cuss words or it's violent or it's so dark or it's disrespectful or whatever. Look at the poetry. Look at the poetry. Look at the end rhymes. Lie, die, rain, brain, silence, wildest, get it, did it, you, through, niggas, dismantle, right? He said dismantle, but then he said light it up like a candle. So he hit the internal. Stand you, then he flips it. But dismantle and stand you, slant rhyme, right? Busting grapes, met the apes. These are couplets.
Yeah, so
He's talking about the streets in couplets.
so he just went, he basically changed 3-4 times in the span over the course of a track.
Yeah, that's one verse right there.
Yeah, he over the course of a verse, he's done internal rhyme, a couplet, as well as your traditional AABB. I mean, he's done it all in one verse.
Imagery. I'm not even done like imagery. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that doesn't even get into calculating the performance of the sounds of the words. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's what I
Um,
when you were saying that, I said, and I, one of the greatest poets ever. Maya Angelou could have recited that verse, and her just, she would,
oh,
her tone, and you would have heard it, and it would have sounded like, man, that's the most beautiful thing. I mean, if she would have recited Rough
yeah,
Riders Anthem with her tone, you would have
yeah,
sat and listened to it with a different ear. But
yes.
because of the dun, 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 well, that lets you know
Forget about it.
it's about to go down. And then
Right.
here he comes. He comes at it with such ferocity. The
Yes.
start of that song, that it's like, oh, this isn't this isn't just
But and in that is his poetic expression.
Yes.
In that is the poetic beauty of his work. That's a unique literal voice that you hear, but it's a unique voice you read on the page too, that's speaking to us, right? And when we look at the great poets, where we look at the Shakespeares, when I say great poets, I mean the Eurocentric, European, white dead men great poets that people say are great poets, right? I know that but when we look at that canon, that Eurocentric canon, and we compare their poetic form to DMX, and we compare their content to DMX, he's right there with him or beyond. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about tragedy, Greek tragedy,
right?
What do you think he was speaking about?
Right. Well, no, that's like I said,
right?
That tragedy and tragedy sells.
There we go.
And I'm not saying that people revel in it.
Yeah.
But what it is just like when Marvin Gaye sings Inner City Blues, when the person's singing it and you feel it, or you've lived it, or someone that's lived it,
there you go.
hits you to your core, and it becomes it becomes more than just a song. And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
There's a few rappers that have been able to do that. Obviously, Pac was one that was able to do that.
Definitely.
DMX was able
Yeah.
to do that. You know, on a more recent note, Kendrick, it definitely is able to, where it's like there's a greater, the way you know, there's more passion, and you feel the music,
Yeah.
you know,
Definitely.
like
Yeah.
as if you're experiencing it with them, you know.
Yeah.
That was what set X apart, you know, and put him,
Definitely.
you know. And he
Yeah. Go
had,
ahead. Go ahead.
and the thing is, he had four albums debut at #1,
Uh-huh.
and two of them were released in the same year.
Yeah. It had never been done before.
No, I mean, when you think, I mean, he was about as hot as it gets in
They
the
both
late.
went platinum the same year, right?
Yes, both.
Right.
And I'm talking about multiple platinum. I think it's Dark and
Right.
Hell is Hot went 4 times platinum, and then I think I'm trying to think of the name of the second one. Yeah, that was Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. That went, I think, 3 times, 4 times platinum as well.
Yeah. You know, I started thinking, and it's a little off from what you're saying, but what is the writer's task? You know, what is the poet's task? What is the MC's task? And when you're writing and making music for an audience, right? One thing that is automatically happening is something is being documented. There is a documentation of a history. So if DMX is writing these words from his time and space, he is documenting not only his thoughts and his ideas, but the circumstances that inspired those thoughts and ideas, right? And so if we were to read, again, Rough Riders Anthem, this is historical documentation of what society has created. You know, these words would not be here had it not been for what happened to X in his life in the urban environment.
Yeah.
Right? These words are a side effect of the system that we live in, right? These words, where he says, he says, oh, you think it's funny? You don't know me, money, right? It's about to get ugly. Fuck it, dog. I'm hungry. Why would he have to write that? Why would he be in a circumstance? He said, nosy people get it too. When you see me spit at you, you know I'm trying to get rid of you. Yeah, I know it's pitiful. Where does that come from?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's documentation of how society, how our system has sold us short. You know what I'm saying? Like we're left out to dry and fend for ourselves. You know, and this is a product of it. This is a testament of it. And whether he felt pride in showing us this darkness or not, it is a testament to a reality that people are living, you know, in our country, you know, and around the world, you know what I'm saying, in many ways. And so when we go back and we read, for example, Edgar Allan Poe, there's people, scholars, they're like, oh, well, what do his poems say about the historical moment in which he lived? It's called the historical critical approach, right?
Right.
And so what does his poem say about society in his era of existence? And now we can learn about his society because we have his writing still, right? We can do the same with X. People I've read online are speaking, oh, well, his lyrics were violent, or his lyrics were this, or he lived this lifestyle, or he did this. I don't hear nobody saying that about Shakespeare. Oh, no. He wrote Hamlet.
No, of course not.
I don't hear people saying that about Edgar Allan Poe, where he had a relationship with his own sister or his cousin.
Right.
In that poem.
Yeah.
and he's having incest with his sister.
Right.
And he's mad because the law broke them apart and made them no one's mad at him. I think people should like respect the art as art and take the lessons from it. You know what I'm saying? And instead of trying to say that the artist is doing something wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, definitely. And that's always been, I mean, that's been the criticism of, especially once hip hop turned gangster, but even before that. But once it turned gangster, it was that why is everything out of your mouth, either something about drugs, violence, sex? I mean, what
True.
and what people don't realize is that, gangsterism is popular with everybody, not just black people, not just brown
Right.
people, everybody. So when you're selling that type, whether it's film or music, everybody likes it. It's a reason why, if you look on AFI's top 100 films, I think number 1 or number 2 is The Godfather. Well, that's a
There we
gangster
go.
flick. It's a gangster
It's
flick.
the
People love
American
that.
story.
Yes, people love
right?
that. So it's like when you get criticized, or, he got criticized, obviously X did, because people thought, oh man, he's just really, he's just over the top. He's doing this, he's saying that. And it's like, man, yeah, welcome to the American, just the American way of living. That's always been, I would say, criticized, but yet celebrated at the same time. So
and it's crazy because the same people who go watch The Godfather or whatever, or Scarface,
yeah,
or who in the movies, and they'll say, nah, man, that guy's music,
of course not. Right.
They'll go to the movies and watch some crazy movie, right? Or like they'll binge on the whole Saw series. Saw, where they're cutting people's things off, arms off. They'll watch the whole Saw and then go to church, but nah, DMX, that's evil, or whatever. It's like, yo, are you serious?
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a genre.
Yeah, it is.
It's an artistic form. This is an artistic form, just like comedy is an artistic form. Conscious rap is an artistic form. Trap is an artistic form. I don't have to like trap, but I can't deny that there is artistry.
Oh yeah, and it's that's what makes hip hop great, is all the subgenres. You have hip hop, and then you have all these various subgenres. I mean, that have been added over the years. And X's style was a, in my opinion, it was a subgenre kind of birthed out of, it was kind of a combination of NWA with a little bit of Chuck D and Public Enemy, with some, Pac. I mean, he definitely had a unique style, but that very, very over the top, angry, again, kind of had a little bit of Cube in him, like NWA, where it was like, no, it was some angry, some anger. And again, that anger, if you read his story, and he's got a, biography, I think his name is Earl. I think that's what it's called. But, it talks about, man, he didn't have the greatest life.
Nah.
He didn't have, his life was filled with a lot of mishaps,
Things that happen to people shape who they will become. And maybe we can try to say like, oh no, well, you're a master of your circumstance, and ideally we can all master our circumstance, like in a great ideal world, but we're not, everyone is not the same, it's an unfair kind of thing, to put out, I think. But yeah, man, I just remember, man, I was a little kid, man, and that Rough Riders anthem came on, and I knew this was the real thing. I had never been through any of what he was talking about. I had, I hadn't seen that, but there is something in Spanish, like Spain, that they call Duende. Have you heard of Duende?
Not at all.
So Duende, there's a lot of perspectives on it, but Duende is sometimes they call it like a goblin, like a scary goblin that can put fear in you, you know, or is a trickster. Or the real true definition, I think, is it's a being, a person that can capture an energy that gives you the fear of death. Okay, that reminds you of the fear of death, so to speak. People, for example, like Nina Simone, okay? She may not have the most beautiful voice, so to speak, like traditionally, but if you hear her music, she has Duende, because she will make you face things you may not be ready to face, right? And you know, like Mississippi, goddamn. Have you heard Mississippi, goddamn?
Right.
And she sounds like,
yeah, it's not great.
Crazy.
Yeah, but
right?
It doesn't matter.
But it's like you'll cry. You know what I'm saying? Feeling it. You know, and I feel that DMX had Duende, where he is transmitting the energy to you, you know, and whatever that energy is, you're gonna feel that energy, you know. Duende, that's a good one. I'm gonna look more into Duende. And now I'm gonna have to go on a whole mission talking about that.
Maybe that's the next episode. We're gonna definitely chop it up with Rob again. But man, I appreciate you coming on, man. And yeah, it's like time flies. You know, we didn't already.
Dude, how long we been going? I feel like
almost an hour. Almost, yeah, it feels like 10 minutes, but it's been almost an hour, man. So
I felt like we didn't even start the conversation yet. Like we were just getting to what we were supposed to talk about.
Right. Yeah, it's like I said, it'll be definitely, anybody listening, definitely gonna have my man back. We were supposed to talk, we would want to talk more about that golden era of rap, you know, and maybe that's, you know, some of the MCs kind of broke down too, really, in 2 episodes, kind of talked about Nas, talked a lot about X. Hope y'all learned about rhyme scheme. So, you know, go check my man out at Rap Seminar on IG. And,
yes, sir.
And again, man, thank you for coming. And
thank you, man. Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me to come through. I know you're, you know, taking time from your day. And I always love chopping it up, talking about hip hop with my fellow, you know, lyrically minded people.
Yes, sir.
You know, so I'm here. You know, hit me up anytime.
All right, man.